caught in this cushiony vice of transcendental sound. It was absolutely wonderful. And her voice was so devotional. Whenever she would sing, you know, sometimes, you know, so I'd sing on the chorus, Hare Krishna, and she'd be going, well, Hare, and she'd like way up there, you know, and you know, like you, almost like startling. It was so, such a heartfelt expression of devotion, you know. And yeah, to this day, I mean, I get chills just remembering this evening kirtan. So my early memories of being in the London Temple and the kirtans that we would do there. These melodies, these are old-timey religion melodies. So these, you know, the first generation melodies. We didn't have a lot of Bengali intricate melody lines. Oh, very simple, very, very simple melody. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Yadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam. Try that. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Anyone could follow such a simple melody, right? If you wanted to get complicated, then you do something like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Those are very complicated. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See if you can try that one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And here's the really tricky part. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can you do that?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Heavy bowl. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Then of course if you're on Harinam, you have to make it even simpler. So what was the Harinam? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This is Trivikram, later Trivikram Swami. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was another very complicated melody. Yeah. And then we get very fancy sometimes, you know. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva Nasteva, Gatiranyam. That was a mantra that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had just a few mantras that he would sing. It wasn't a whole big repertoire. You know, he'd sing Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Maha Mantra. Sometimes it was Viharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. That was another favorite. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very simple melody. Okay, so let's discuss.
Want to start on it?
Discuss.
Okay. So I guess with that, we use this for the benefit of the people in the valley. Thank you all for coming. Bhagavata Sravana, every Sunday you can come and watch that microphone dip down slowly to the edge of the floor. That's what we're going for.
Pay no basis.
Exactly, pay no basis. Anyway, Yogesvara Prabhu needs no introduction.
Okay.
That was good.
But I have a few words anyway.
Who is it you might ask? Who
Yogesvara
is it you
Prabhu-
might ask?
I will answer you.
Thank you.
I will answer that question. Yogesvara Prabhu is a senior member of the New York Bhakti community. He first received initiation from Srila Prabhupada in 1970, and second initiation in 1972. During 13 years in ISKCON, he served as president of several temples, head of ISKCON's French publishing office, editor of Back to Godhead magazine, and founder of Bala Books Children's Publishing. Currently, he serves on the board of directors of the Bhaktivedanta Institute and is a mediator for ISKCON resolve. Yogesvara Prabhu earned his master's degree in religious studies at Hofstra University, where he taught Holocaust studies from 2003 to 2013. His biographies of Holocaust survivors have sold more than 500,000 copies. His current bestseller, Signs of Survival, has been optioned by Steven Spielberg's company, Amblin Entertainment, for adaptation as a TV miniseries. His biographies of Holocaust survivors are published by Random House, Simon & Schuster, and Scholastic. These are really heavy hitter publishers here. He is also a documentary filmmaker whose films about Holocaust history are seen on PBS and Discovery. His devotional writings include Here Comes the Sun, the spiritual and musical journey of George Harrison, with whom he recorded, I might add. Gita Wisdom, an introduction to India's essential yoga text. And Swami in a Strange Land, an ISKCON authorized biography of Srila Prabhupada. In addition, he authored ISKCON's official Code of Ethics manual and is currently working on a biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I did all that?
You did. And the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu biography, which is just now coming, I was talking to Satyaraj Prabhu about it. He read a manuscript of it. And he told me it was a masterpiece. That's the word he used. So I'm looking forward to that book.
Thank you, God.
Please join me in welcoming Yogesvara Prabhu.
Thank you for that bombastic introduction.
All about podcast.
Somebody once said to me, thank you. Somebody once said to me that praise is like perfume. It's okay to sniff it, but don't swallow. Good advice. And you couldn't make a living at any of it. I mean, like that. Hare Krishna, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasaya, Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani, Prajayani, Devi, Shesha Srimavani, Paschati Vishnu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Guru Tikadana, Shivasa, Gaurav. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavata asks me, what do you want to talk about? I'm never quite sure what to answer. So I thought, okay, what's a real challenging thing? What can I talk about that I haven't talked about in a long time, and I have to actually prepare the class. So I said, let's talk about nectar of devotion. How many of you are familiar with this book? Okay. How many of you read it? Wow, all right, that's impressive. It's not always easy reading. It's not, the language is complicated, but it's what in academia would be called a dense, right? Dense book. Nectar of Devotion is the English language title that Srila Prabhupada gave to the original title, the book by Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ocean of the Nectar of Devotion. And this was an important publication. There's an interesting story behind it before we get into the content. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world in 1533. He had sent he himself did not write any books. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not write any books. It is said that the only writing he left was the Shikshastika prayers. There's some evidence that when he was a young scholar in Navadvip, he wrote a commentary on the grammar texts of the day. And that grammar commentary was used in East Bengal, so that when he went to collect money, because when his father passed away, he left the family without any source of income. He had been living off of Jagannath Mishra's tuitions that he would get from his Sanskrit students. So Nimai needed to collect some money to help with the family expenses, so he went to East Bengal. And the schools in East Bengal were very happy to have him there because they had notes. They didn't actually have a full manuscript of his grammatical commentaries, but they had notes that students had taken down in his school in Navadvip and then brought them back to East Bengal. So they were very happy to have the author of this commentary lecturing in their schools. You know, one story leads to another, you know, in Chaitanya Leela, Krishna knew. So the other story that this leads to is, why wasn't there a copy of his manuscript of the grammatical commentary? The answer is that there was another student in Navadvip by the name of Raghunath Shiromani. Raghunath Shiromani was a very, very bright student, a few years older than Nimai. They were both students, well, Raghunath Shiromani was a student of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Now, if you're familiar with Chaitanya's pastimes, you know that Sarvabhauma is usually identified with Puri. That's because he had relocated to Puri. He started a school for Navya Nyaya, a new logic, Jnana orientation of intellectual reasoning and logic in Navadvip, and then relocated to Puri, where the king, Maharaj Prataparudra, had made him the official, you might say, minister of education for his kingdom. So Raghunath Shiromani was a student of Sarvabhauma in Navadvip, and he was a brilliant student. And he and Nimai were good friends. So he had said to Nimai, come over to my house for dinner. They were very good friends. Raghunath had heard that Nimai might be writing a commentary, and Raghunath had written a commentary as well, but he didn't want to let any competition stand in the way. They were friends, so he said, come on over for dinner. So when Nimai arrived, Raghunath was still cooking dinner. So you know, what's up, Raghunath? How come dinner's not ready? I said, my teacher, Sarvabhauma, gave me a very complicated problem. There was a logical argument in parlance, in usual usage, that he wanted me to deconstruct. He wanted me to find the faults in this argument. It's a tough one. He says, it's taken me all day to figure this out. So I'm late getting started with the dinner. So Nimai says to him, oh, it must have been a really tough problem. What was it? Raghunath started to explain it, and he hasn't even gotten the words out of his mouth when Nimai comes up with a solution. Raghunath Shiromani is totally nonplussed, because here he thought he worked all day, and here was this younger guy comes up with a solution in half a minute. All right, so the next day they're going by rowboat to the other side of the Bhagavata River to Sarvabhauma's toll, his school there, where they were going to present their papers. and Nimai's reading from his commentary, and he looks up and he sees that Raghunath is just like total in despair. Just so Nimai said, "What's up? What's the problem?" Radha says, all right, I have to confess to you, I had dreams of becoming the new lead scholar in Navadvip. When Sarvabhauma retires, I wanted to take his place, and I was going to establish myself with my commentary on grammar. Then I hear you reading this thing, trying to make it go away. And who's going to want to hear from me after what you've written is brilliant? I couldn't do that. Nimai says, that's all? And he takes his commentary and throws it into the river. The pages scatter in the wind, they settle on the water, they sink to the bottom. Raghunath looks at him and says, who are you? And Nimai says, I'm your friend. So that's some of the stories that I've been learning as I research this biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I have no idea how I got to that point in this.
Keep going.
Keep going, just keep going. I guess the point is that
It's tied into nectar of devotion.
somehow it's tied into the
We
book.
were given to Bhakti Rasa and we just
Right. So you have so Nimai is initiated at age 24 by Keshava Bharati and becomes Krishna Chaitanya. Now he's a sannyasi. Destroyed his family. They were just in such misery over this. Sannyas is material suicide. It means that you don't have a permanent home. He wasn't supposed to have the same kind of familiarity with his family that he did before. So everyone was in total despair. But he knew he had to do this. If he was going to spread the Sankirtan movement, he had to find a way to capture the attention of people who otherwise were not interested. So in those days, if you were sannyasi, everyone respected you. So he became a sannyasi. Otherwise, it wasn't necessary. But he wanted to capture everyone in the Sankirtan movement. So along the way, people are hearing about this amazing scholar who's now become this great lover of Krishna. And these two brothers, there were three brothers actually, but the two we know most about, Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik were the names they were given when they were in the employ of Nawab Hussain Shah, minister for all of Bengal. Actually didn't have much choice. Nawab Hussain Shah kind of conscripted them into these positions. It's not like they volunteered for them. They had to do it. So they weren't exactly happy about it. But they were given these very important posts that I don't know, I forgot which one is which. One means personal secretary to the Nawab, and the other means is minister of the treasury. Very, very important positions, topmost positions. So you can imagine how qualified they were. They had heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They had sent him letters. All they wanted to do was join this movement. And so finally, it's a long story which we won't go into this one. Finally, they go and they surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he gives them assignments. He says, I need you to go to Vrindavan. I want you to write books about bhakti and reestablish the places of pilgrimage, build temples. Because someday Vrindavan will become a great pilgrimage site. So they do. And they did this beyond anyone's imagination. They were so successful establishing the great temples of Vrindavan. And the books that they wrote were the foundational texts of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And it wasn't just one or two books. By the time the books were ready to be sent to Bengal, now we're in about 1615, so it's about 90 years, 85 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has disappeared from the world. There are about 40 books, according to certain scholarly indications, that had been compiled, works of the Goswamis and others as well, poetry of Jayadev and Vidyapati Brahma Samhita was among these books. They had 40 handwritten, everything was handwritten in those days, and it was before offset printing. So these beautiful. It's described that the Rupa Goswami's handwriting was like poetry. It's just so beautiful. So they're all there on the floor of Jiva Goswami's bungalow, his cottage, on cloth, a clean cloth here. And they're ready to go to Bengal. So very briefly, what happened was that Jiva Goswami's too old, Krishnadas Kaviraj is too old, the other senior members in Vrindavan are too old. So they chose 3 younger graduates of Jiva's academy to messenger these manuscripts to Bengal. There's Srinivas, Narottam, and Shamananda. Srinivas was the oldest. He was, from the best I can tell, he was 60-something. The others were younger, they were in their 30s. And among them was this book. Among these manuscripts that were making their way to Bengal. Now remember, these were one of a kind. There was only one manuscript here. That's all. So you can understand how important it was that these books be protected and delivered successfully to Bengal, where scribes were ready to start making copies and distributing. So they wrapped the books up very carefully, the manuscripts, in cloth. They put them in 2 wooden crates. They put the crates on the back of 2 bullock carts. They asked the Goswamis for their blessings, and they set off. It's about a 90-day trip, 800 miles. So they're on their way, and every night they stop, and Narottam sings one of his songs. He is a wonderful songwriter. And they're talking about the pastimes of Chaitanya. And they're discussing how important these manuscripts are. They have to get them safely. Now, in order to protect them, the Goswamis had given them 10 guards armed with clubs, so that these carts of precious, priceless treasures would be protected. So they arrive at this one town, which is on the outskirts of Bengal. So their journey is almost over now. The head of this one particular area was named Virhamvir, and he was known for being a real criminal. And he would have his henchmen kill pilgrims passing through the area, steal them, steal whatever precious things they had. So the 3 messengers with these manuscripts are very glad that they have these guards. So they go to sleep. During the night, henchmen and the employee of Virhamvir creep into the campsite, and they menace the guards with swords. They said, "You have an option: flee or you die." So they fled. They chose to save their lives. Only one remained back. He was asleep, and he stayed back. And these henchmen very quietly made their way off with these 2 bullock carts. And you can imagine what it was like in the morning when Srinivas, Narottam, Shamananda wake up, and they see the guards are gone, and worse, the carts are gone, the manuscripts are gone. It's like the worst imaginable thing that could possibly happen. The whole future of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is in these manuscripts. Without these teachings, there's no movement. It'll deteriorate into sentimental rituals and chanting. The books are the basis. This is what's going to keep things stable and solid. And now they're gone. So you can read about this. It's there in Bhakti Ratnatra and a few other places. You can read the story about how they retrieved the manuscript. So we almost didn't have this book. That's my point. We almost didn't have it. So Srila Prabhupada came west. He was 69 years old when got on the Benedicta. He turned 70 on this week. So at age 70, he didn't know, how many years he had left. So even though the Bhagavatam was his life mission, he took time out from translating and commenting the Srimad Bhagavatam to give us 3 summary books. He gave us teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because he didn't know if he would live long enough to comment the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he gave us this 1 volume, that at least my students should have this. Then he gave us Krishna book, because who knows if he would make it to the 10th canto, and we know that he passed away in the middle of finishing his commentaries on 10th canto. He was Brahma Vargata Lila when he passed away. So he gave us Krishna books so that we would have the essence of 10th canto. And then he gave us this, Nectar of Devotion. So you can understand the importance of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Srila Prabhupada would take time out of the Srimad Bhagavatam to give us this book. So here's the thing about Nectar of Devotion. It's dense. It's an intense book. This is not simple summary teachings. This is a deep dive into the principles of bhakti. It has different, what Rupa Goswami calls the waves, different sections. He calls it the waves. And there are characteristics of devotional service, characteristics of ecstasy in devotional service, Krishna's qualities, the importance of accepting initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. He describes Krishna's transcendental qualities, and how the living entity has so many of Krishna's 64 qualities, and how Lord Shiva has so many qualities, and how Vishnu has so many qualities, how Krishna himself has 4 that nobody else has. So there are all kinds of wonderful things in this book. And what's extraordinary about it is the detail. When I remember reading this book, when it first came, by the way, when a new book came, Rameshwara will attest to this. In those days, when a new book came, it was your birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year, Thanksgiving. Everything rolled into one. It was just, and literally people would be jumping up and down when a new book by Srila Prabhupada arrived. It was because you knew you're going to be getting something absolutely incredible. One quick story. We had no books. Now you guys, you're feasting every day on this treasure of a library of publications. Back then, we had the purple Bhagavad Gita from Macmillan, which was an abridged edition of the Bhagavad Gita. We had teachings of Lord Chaitanya. We had a few issues of Back to Godhead magazine, which were, distempered or copied back in those days. And you remember, this is London, 1970. I had heard that Yamuna had a manuscript of the Krishna book up in her room. So there's no way I wasn't going to steal it. So when I knew she was busy with the deities, I crept up to her room. I made sure no one was watching, and I opened the door and I walked into her room. This is very embarrassing to say this, but it's whatever. There on the shelf was the manuscript of Krishna book about this thing. I took it down and I flipped through it, and I just stopped at any page at random. And I knew this was going to be some really ecstatic, transcendental nectar. So I started reading, and it said, baby Krishna crawled up on the gigantic breast of the Putana witch and sucked out her life. I very gently put the manuscript back on the shelf and crawled backwards out the door. I didn't know what I'd gotten myself into. So it's deep, these teachings. Else you're prepared for, you know what you're getting yourself into. The nectar of devotion is a little bit like that. There are example after example after example of people going into ecstasy, and sometimes it's strange. Like belching is a sign of ecstasy. You know, who knew? Right? Or anger and bitterness and bad jokes are in there. All of these different signs of transcendental love for God, that you never kind of would associate otherwise. Let me give you just a few examples, okay? Here's, they might not all be so outrageous. Here's, let's say, first one I noted just because I liked it was Krishna's apparel and garlands. It's on page 214. Generally, there are 4 kinds of garments on the body of Krishna. His shirt, turban, belt, and wearing garments. I'm not quite sure I understand that phrase, wearing garments. Don't we wear all garments? I guess it means his goatee, but I'm not sure. In Vrindavan, he used to put on reddish garments with a golden shirt on his body and orange-colored turban on his head. Very specific, isn't it? The different kinds of belts, combined with his enchanting smile. Now, you don't usually match a belt with a smile, right? Okay, that's the kind of stuff that you find here. The different kinds of belts, combined with his enchanting smile, used to always increase the transcendental bliss of his associates. Oh, what a beautiful belt. The dress of Krishna is described as gorgeous. As a baby elephant is sometimes dressed in colorful clothing. Of course, baby elephants are. So Krishna's gorgeousness was manifested by decoration with such colorful clothing on the different parts of his body. How about this one? Krishna's flute. Right? There are 3 kinds of flutes used by Krishna. One is called Venu. Venu Kanvantam Aravinda Danayataksam. One is called Murli. The third is called Vamsi. Venu is very small, not more than 6 inches long, with 6 holes for whistling. Murli is about 18 inches long, foot and a half, with a hole at the end and 4 holes on the body of the flute. This kind of flute produces a very enchanting sound. The Vamsi flute is about 15 inches long, with 9 holes on its body. Krishna used to play on these 3 flutes occasionally when they were needed. So here's another one, interesting. I already told you about drooling. Yawning. It is said that when the full moon rises, the lotus petals become expanded. Similarly, when Krishna used to appear before Radharani, her face, which is compared to the lotus flower, would expand by her yawning. Now, medically, yawning is described as the body needing additional oxygen. It's a way of infusing oxygen quickly into the bloodstream. So myself, I understand this as meaning that Krishna took her breath away. There's another one here. Oh, this is a good one. Eyebrows. I didn't hear it. And there was a particular type of ecstatic, loving sentiment develops within the heart of a particular devotee is considered to be vibhava, particular ecstasy of a particular devotee. And the resulting manifestations, such as moving of the eyebrows, fear, astonishment, and smiling, which have been explained here and before, are called anubhava. So it's always unexpected details of how people manifest their love for Krishna. Once one of Krishna's friends informed him, my dear Krishna, if you will open your mouth, then I shall give you one nice sugar candy mixed with yogurt. Krishna immediately opened his mouth. But instead of giving him sugar candy with yogurt, the friend dropped a flower in his mouth. After tasting this flower, Krishna turned his mouth into a disfigured way. Upon seeing this, all his friends standing there began to laugh very loudly. So, What's going on? What? You tell me, what do you think the meaning is of all of these details? Some of them very unexpected. How does any of this make sense to you? What do you think when you hear these different descriptions? Have any kind of reaction at all? Or does this all seem very normal?
The one thing, I'm struck by how what we would call human it all is.
Okay.
Like these exchanges that we can actually relate to. It's not some aloof supreme being, but it's just these like beautiful little exchanges between people.
Yes, these little anecdotes of what's happening between individuals.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
It also gives you a very strong sense that something is really happening somewhere. All these little details.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. The fact would have been real. Okay. Yes.
I think the thing that came to mind is the subtleties of falling in love with Krishna.
Yeah.
Like the tiny details, just the little things that you remember.
Very good. Very good. There's no bland, homogeneous, amorphous something that's called love, right? Love. No, this is like, eyebrows and yawning, that kind of stuff. Very good. Yeah. So, you can understand that what Rupa Goswami has done is to codify these extraordinary details of the characteristics of people in a very, very elevated position. These are not ordinary people. That's the one thing we have to keep in mind as we read these descriptions. This is not, waving your eyebrows the way somebody else might wave their eyebrow. These are symptoms of people who have gone so deep into their relationship with Krishna that these things are happening. They're erupting out of them spontaneously. And it speaks also to the individuality, doesn't it? Each of these people is having a very, very unique experience of love with Krishna. That's really important. That's an important thing that we can take away from the nectar of devotion. I remember trying to explain Krishna at a weekly Bhagavad Gita class up at Jivamukti Yoga. Week after week, I made sure every week to make sure people understood Krishna is a person. And we all have a personal relationship with Krishna. And who is Krishna? He's the supreme person. And he has personality. So I remember after about 2 months, I said, okay, tell me who is Krishna. We went around the room. One person said, well, he's a metaphor for the absolute. Someone else said, he's kind of the embodiment of our own best qualities. And then on, and like slapping my head saying, where have I gone wrong? No one got it. It was very hard for them to actually grasp this idea that God is a person just like we're people. And that when you talk about love of God, it's not some abstract, theoretical idea. It's a real thing, And that the loves we know, the variety of love that we know in this world, it's a mirror reflection. It's a sample. It's a taste of what that love is like in the eternal realm. Why do you think it was so hard for them to accept that Krishna is a person? Why? Go into your own experience now. I'm asking you now don't give me a philosophical answer, right? Take off your devotee hat for a minute. Every one of you here, before you were a devotee, you were somebody, right? You grew up somewhere, you had parents, maybe you had brothers and sisters, you went to school, you had experiences. From your own experiences of life, why do you think it would be so difficult for people to accept Krishna as a person and the reality of these kinds of descriptions as having substance, as having ontological reality? Why would that be so difficult? Rameshwar, I'm gonna come to you after. I want to give a couple of other people. I'm gonna come to you, but let's see what you have to say. What's your name? Say your name.
My name is Vaishnava Ananda Dasi. I'm from Italy.
Vaishnava?
Ananda.
Vaishnava Ananda Das.
I'm from Italy.
Nice to meet you.
Your questions, I mean, my immediate answer, it was because they are scared. Because when we realize that it's a person, we have responsibility. So when we realize that the relationship is with a personal God, it's committing. We have to commit. You know, it's not la 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 energy. It's commitment. This was my own first
Yes.
reaction in the beginning, many years ago.
Very good. Vaishnava, that's a wonderful answer. I'm going to ask you to go a step further. Why, anticipating that accepting Krishna means that I have some skin in the game? There's some responsibility. Why would that necessarily be a turnoff? What is it about that anticipation of that personal dimension that would make someone hesitate? What is it about personal relationships that would make us hesitate to enter into a personal relationship with a personal supreme being?
Surrendering. We have to surrender in a way.
Yes, we have
So,
to give something of ourselves. What is most people's experience of relationships? Are they joyful? Not. That's a rare thing, isn't it? Most relationships are pretty tough.
Frustrating.
Yeah. So if we're going by what we know, which is that relationships have always, any misery I've known in my life is due to a relationship with somebody. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're projecting into this relationship with a person, Krishna, and saying, why would I go there again? I see a hand, yes. Yes, okay. Someone else wanted to comment? Yes.
I just want to, well, you asked what would, what would cause in that commitment. To me, it's just trust and commitment. A sense of
Trust
in the relationship. Once
Trust,
you recognize
you
the
have
person,
to trust
right,
that relationship.
and commitment, sense of commitment, trust.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, but bloody difficult.
It's so hard.
Except for the one with my wife,
Oh,
which is
yes.
blissful at all times. And
And I like it easily. Sure, relationships are difficult. They're very, very difficult. Right? So to have to anticipate making and committing yourself to a relationship with who exactly? Someone you can't see. He's not talking to you. There's no guarantees here. You know, in Judaism we have something called a ketubah. Ketubah is like a marriage vow. You know, you say, it's literally written out when you put it on your wall of your home. It says, this is what I promise to do for you, you promise to do this for me. There's no ketubah in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. You know, there's no contract. I think I've told this story before, but you may not have heard it. I remember one young woman who used to come to these classes at Jivamukt, and then I didn't see her for the longest time. And then I saw her, and I said, why'd you stop coming? She said, well, I'm into Jesus these days. I said, that's interesting. Okay, why did you change? And then she told me something that it must have been very difficult for her to describe this. She said that when she was younger, she'd been physically and sexually abused by her stepfather. And it had been a very, very traumatic thing for her. And she was very nervous about Krishna, because all the stories about Krishna, about how he's betraying this gopi with that other gopi, and Jesus is a celibate. She can trust him because he doesn't have any relations with women. whoa, that's deep. But it really, kind of underscores how the idea of a personal divinity can be really intimidating for people. Right? So here we are presenting Krishna. I mean, we literally have him on the altar. He's there. You can't avoid seeing him. Right? And what's our value statement? What's our proposition? Love him. Love him. So it's understandable. So in the comment, there are other commentaries on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu where scholars have interpreted everything that Rupa Goswami says as metaphor. The dust raised by the hoofs of the calves, metaphor. The gopis, metaphor. Krishna, metaphor. It is a metaphor. Because they can't accept the idea that there's an actual person behind all of this. It's too much. It's too hard to bear the implications and the consequences. Okay, I saw a hand up before. Question? Oh, Rameshwar, my apologies. You were going to offer us your thoughts. Well, originally, why is it so hard to? Yes, why is it so hard to accept Krishna as a person?
Hare Krishna. I think there's many ways of answering that, and I think one way would be that we're conditioned souls. Our vision as conditioned souls is always based on what our experience is, and then we try to project outward based on our human limited experience. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada called this the frog in the well approach to understanding the infinite. So we have no experience of a person that could fit the qualifications of being perfect, unlimited, all everything. So because there's no experience of that, it tends to cause people to, at best, be impersonalists.
Right.
They just can't imagine because they're using their own human experience to try to understand something that's completely beyond their human experience.
And every person we've ever known has a problem. So follow the logic here. With your own intelligence, your own innate intuitions and tools of discernment, you can project that if this material world is darkness, then the spiritual realm must be filled with light. Okay, that's a reasonable conclusion. If the material world is ignorance, then life in that eternal realm must be filled with knowledge. Okay, also a very good intuition. If everything in this world is differentiated, if everything in this world is personalized and separated, then everything in that realm must be undifferentiated, uniform, amorphous, without distinction, without personality, without unique personhood. It's the same logical sequence, but an inaccurate conclusion. You cannot come to that point of understanding Krishna's personhood on your own intuitions. That is a gift that's given by a qualified spiritual master. So we come up against the limits of our own deductive powers when we try to understand that transcendent realm. Yes, Rameshwar Prabhu.
I just think there's an obvious immediate flaw with that way of projecting. Because if God is the source of everything, and down here we are persons, he must have personhood in him. It's just so obvious to the way I think, that if everything comes from God and is within God, so does individuality and personhood.
Yes, but that doesn't immediately qualify with what you just said a moment ago. Our only experience of personhood is sad.
But I'm just saying, although we can't reject perfect personhood, but we still have to accept the idea, I think, if we believe that the absolute truth is the source of everything, is that in the absolute truth there is differentiation. Because
Earlier-
how can it exist here and not be within God?
Earlier, I was talking with our godbrother Satyaraj, who reminded me that when Rupa Goswami was writing Bhakti Shamrita Sindhu, even the impersonalist school accepted that there was form. It's just that the impersonal was honored as having a higher dimension of truth than the manifestation of form. So there was that balance, if you might say. Today, it's a different story altogether. Today, anything that smacks of personal divinity is anathema. Anything that smacks of a top-down dictator taking control of our lives and telling us how we have to behave and what we must do is antithetical to rational thinking. So it's not. We have a tough time trying to present Krishna when religion has been so poorly represented, when God has been so poorly represented over these last many thousands of years. So other thoughts or questions? I mean, this is, yes. Please say your name first.
My name is Yatin.
Yatin.
Thank you for the nice class. Srila Prabhupada commonly would refer to Krishna as also Adokshaja, as one of his names. That sometimes it's beyond our perception with our knowledge to even understand. Is there a component of that as well playing into the picture here?
Well, yes, the fact that God is inconceivable, if you will, that he is beyond the limits of our intellect. Certainly that plays into this here. But then we have to ask ourselves, how can we ever know him? So there's a balance that's required here. This was described by Radhika Ramana, our scholar, godbrother Ravi Gupta. He gave a class on the Pramanas, the three paths of knowledge, sense perception, intuition or deductive reasoning, and Shruti Praman, hearing from a higher authority. And he was saying how you can't just accept what scriptures have to say, because you need your own perceptions and your own intellectual discernment to process what scriptures are saying. So all three pramanas are necessary. You can't just surrender yourself and say, I'll just do whatever God wants me to do. I'll just do whatever my spiritual master tells me to do. That's not spiritual, that's fanaticism. The power of discernment is there to help us distinguish between what is substantial and what is insubstantial, what is truth and what is illusion. We have to be able to bring our dialogue in pursuit of divinity within the realm of our abilities to hold that dialogue. So both things are there. The unknowableness of Krishna and the knowableness of Krishna as far as we are capable. I remember Prabhupada, he had the right explanation for me. He said, in the spiritual world, if you're a big glass or a little glass, when you're full, you're full. So we're all very little glasses. We can only understand so much. But when you apply that to knowing Krishna, boy, that's wonderful. Yes, Robert.
I just wanted to share a short exchange that happened at Prabhupada's Vyasa celebration at 22nd Avenue this year. The speaker was Pancharatna, and I was asking him, why would God be in everyone's heart in the lowest of species, all through the different species? when it's only humans that can realize God, why would God be in the heart of a worm next to that soul? So I asked that question. And his response was, now you're getting a hint of the meaning of infinite love. God loves every soul so infinitely that he'll even be with them when they're in the body of an insect or a worm.
Beautiful answer.
It was a beautiful way of thinking of the infinity, the infinite magnitude of love.
Wonderful. It was lovely. Thank you for sharing that. So the floor is open for further discussion or questions. Anything you'd like to contribute here? No.
I was just wondering if there were any more contributions, if you could share some more intimate ways of loving Krishna from the nectar of devotion that you think you were sharing earlier. These little.
Oh, maybe some more,
Yeah.
okay, here, we're gonna do a little exercise. I want you to pick a number between, let's say the story start, let's say between 30 and 380.
297.
What?
297.
297, here, hold on. 297, okay, here we go. Ready? 297. Constant associates. In the city of Dwarka, the following devotees are known as Krishna's close associates: Uddhava, Daruka, Satyaki, Shuddhadev, Satyajit, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra. All these personalities remain with the Lord and as his secretaries, but still they are sometimes engaged in his personal service. Among the Kuru dynasty, Bhishma, Maharaj Parikshit, and Vidur are also known as close associates of Lord Krishna. It is said, quote, all the associates of Lord Krishna have lustrous bodily features, and their eyes are just like lotus flowers. They have sufficient power to defeat the strength of the demigods, and the specific feature of their persons is that they are always decorated with valuable ornaments. Now that's a pretty graphic description of Krishna's colleagues and friends in the city of Dwarka. Right? Here you go. So you can do that. You can page here, and the answer to you'll find some part of the answer to your question. That love is very specific, isn't it? You can't generalize love. You can't. There's no one size fits all when it comes to love. There's I asked Prabhupada one time personally, I said, this was in Paris, I said to him, Srila Prabhupada was very, 22. I said, Prabhupada, in all of your classes and lectures, you glorify the gopis. You say the way the gopis love Krishna is the highest, that's the most wonderful kind of love. Conjugal, ecstatic love of the gopis for Krishna. Is that what you want us to do? Of course, today I look back on that and say, okay. So he took it seriously. He said, well, that's very nice. if you want to do that, if you want to love Krishna in that way. He says, but first you must be completely free of all material desire. You must be completely free of all material desire. He says, for now, what you should do is read the books. Read Chaitanya Charitamrita and read Chaitanya Bhagavata. Now, what's interesting about that is he had not translated the Chaitanya Bhagavata. But he said, read Chaitanya Bhagavata. Now, what is it about these stories? What is specifically Chaitanya Charitamrita? Why those books? Why not 10th Canto Bhagavatam? Or why not Bhakti Samrita Singh? He specifically said Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata. As best I've understood, because I've been meditating on this for the last half century, he recommended those books because there we read of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's complete surrender to Krishna, how his love was unqualified. Ahaituki and apratihata, these are the two adjectives that are used to describe pure devotional service. Ahoituki and apritihata. Ahoituki meaning uninterrupted and unstoppable. Nothing can interfere with real loving service, and it's constant. No matter what the obstacles may seem to be, love goes on. There's a definition of love that Rupa Goswami gives, that when all of the evidence suggests this relationship should end, and yet it continues, that's love. Think about it. Think about how the way Krishna treats the gopis, for example. In this world, if a boyfriend treated his girlfriend the way Krishna treats the gopis, they would have left him years ago. But they know better. That's a transcendental kind of rasa that we can't possibly understand by comparison with what goes on in this world. So even though from our material calculation, why do they put up with that? Because we don't understand the nature of ecstasy. We don't understand that ecstasy includes a kind of suffering. There's a kind of pain that is so far beyond our understanding. When Vasudeva is carrying his infant Krishna across the raging Yamuna River, terrible storm, right? And his child falls into the waves and has been carried away by this storm. And he struggles against the currents to retrieve his child. He's experiencing more misery and more suffering and anxiety than we can imagine. The ecstasy of that suffering is beyond our comprehension. That suffering is a kind of ecstasy that happens when you are on that level of pure love for Krishna that we don't understand. We can't understand. We can try. That's our job, is to try. And if we're sincere in our chanting, then someday some small part of these amazing relationships will be revealed to us. So keep reading, keep chanting, and someday these things will be revealed. That you can rest assured of that. You have no doubt. If you continually chant, you go on chanting sincerely, these things will be revealed from within your heart. It's not an intellectual thing. It will be revealed to you. Yes, Rameshwar Prabhu.
You said that if anyone treated their girlfriend the way Krishna did, they would have left. So I was thinking about that.
I think so.
Looking at it from a slightly different angle. Suppose someone had a husband, wife loves her husband, and now wants every single person to fall in love with the husband, intimately. What wife would ever think like that?
Never happened.
Share a husband with every single soul.
Nah.
So that's not a normal thought. Well, when you said that Prabhupada said, just study Chaitanya Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavat, we're talking about a personality, God himself, completely accepting the mood of Radharani. He's not in the mood of Krishna. He's every single moment that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does anything, says anything, is in the mood of Radharani. And in that mood, he's giving out freely that everyone love Krishna. Radha, the topmost lover of Krishna, topmost girlfriend, wants everyone to love that Krishna even more than her.
That's incomprehensible.
Hare Krishna.
You love someone, and the thing you love most is to see him with another woman.
But that is the mood of Lord Chaitanya as Radha, in the Radha's mood. Giving out free Krishna praise.
Because Nadananga Najananga Sundar, I don't want anything for myself. You being with this other gopi is going to break my heart. go for it. Break my heart. I don't care. I just want to go on loving you. What do we know of such a movement?
I love you so much, I want everyone
I love you so
to
much.
give their love to you. Give their love. That's how much I love you. And everyone should love
Yes. It's incomprehensible.
you. Incredible.
Oh, sorry, you have your-
To continue on this, how do you navigate, at least from this reference point here now, how do you navigate such a relationship? Like where we mentioned, we maybe don't have a reference point of all of these relationships, and Krishna's associates, they have this reference point, but how do we navigate a relationship, a loving relationship with this kind of person?
How do you do that? You throw yourself on the floor and you cry like a baby and you pray like a baby. That's all you can do. Because it's not within your power. It's given to you. It's a gift. When you're ready, it will be given to you. All that you can do is throw yourself on the ground. I'm nothing. And please just fix me as a speck of dust at your feet. And if you can think like that sincerely, then you're making a good start. It's important to realize how far away we are from this stuff. I mean, yes, I gotta live with my choice. I said I'd give a class on nectar of devotion. This is so far away from my understanding of anything. But we have to try. We're here to discuss these things. We're here to help one another. Together, this Sangha, we can achieve something. We can break through that impenetrable wall that separates us from God. That's the power of Sangha, chanting, being together.
I have proof that you're not that far away.
Here it comes.
Personal proof, evidence, proof. Because I have seen how much you love Prabhupada. And what does that mean? That Prabhupada was such a direct avatar associate of God, came into this world to save us, and we were so satisfied just if there was anything we could do just to help him, or please him, or serve him. Isn't that the mood that's in the nectar of devotion? How you feel towards Prabhupada?
Well, I mean, you're asking for a lot on the first date here.
I think that's proof that you're not that far. Because I know you love Prabhupada.
We don't have to do all of that. Thank you, that's very kind.
We were talking about how it's painful at the same time as pleasure. It's reminding me of two things. One is the example Srila Prabhupada gives of drinking hot sugarcane juice. That it's burning so hot, but yet it's so sweet you can't stop drinking it. It's like, so that kind of experience. And the other thing you kind of touched on it was, I think also Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Srimad Radharani says that if giving you pleasure causes me pain, then that pain becomes my greatest pleasure. And so therefore, whatever it takes to please Krishna, it just is pleasure, even if it may be understood as pain.
Thakur also prayed like that. He said that when I get to do something that's really hard for Krishna, that's my greatest joy. Something along those lines. So, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I'd like to just comment on Rameshwar Prabhu's last comment. This is parampara in action, right? Because You're seeing his advancement because you see his love. And his love for Prabhupada, his love speaks to you and inspires you. And Yogesvara Prabhu, you have told me that you have no doubt whatsoever that Krishna is real. He said, not because he has experience of Krishna, but because he experienced Prabhupada's love for Krishna. And you can't love a cartoon or a fictional character as much as Prabhupada loves Krishna and sacrificed for Krishna. So in this way, from Krishna to Prabhupada, to Yogesvara, to Rameshwar, to all of us, this is parampara. And this is how we stay connected. Thank you both for your support. We're going to have Arti now, after this phone call. And then Arti, and then stick around, we'll do the string of prayers, a few brief announcements, and then workshop. Thank you. Just going to clear the area here. Sorry.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Please, everybody chant. Krishna, Krishna, Namaste Saraswati Devi Namaste Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Gaura Premanandi.
Giri Govardhana ki jai, Daman Dam ki jai, Vaipodavali Dam ki jai, Brahmamai ki jai, Moolamai ki jai, Musi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shishivan Murlidhar ki jai, Chandra Bhagavata ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Kirtan Yagya ki jai, Yamananga Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Vaman Dwadasi ki jai, Parents Day of Lord Vaman Day ki jai, Thai Gaura Premanandi. Glorious to the assembled devotees. Glorious to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Sri Prabhupada.
कृष्ण भगवान की नमस्ते नरसिंहाय
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Jai
Thank you all for coming. Bhagavata Sravana today. Bhagavata Sravana happens every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Different speakers speaking on Bhagavatam. Today is Nectar's devotion. Beautiful class by Yogesvara. We thank him again. He had to leave early. So he's got a couple brief announcements. As Johnny Thakur indicated, today is the auspicious Parents' Day of Lord Vamana Day. That's Krishna in his form as a dwarf. Wonderful story from Bhagavatam. And also the Parents' Day of Jiva Goswami. Every Sunday from 2 to 4 is Soul Spot. So Soul Spot is today 2 to 4. It's a revival of the full-on Sankirtan Street Festival in Washington Square Park. So if anybody's interested in joining them, they're going to go over walking Harinam, if enough devotees gather outside the building, outside Bhakti Center, today at 2 o'clock, I imagine. They're going to go over there, so please join them if you can. Also, every Wednesday evening, Bhakti Center hosts a wonderful program at 26 Avenue called Prabhupada Meditations. That program is focused on Srila Prabhupada and through guest speakers, and also reading books by Prabhupada's disciples about Prabhupada, just going over his pastimes. This week at Prabhupada Meditations there are two very special guests from Chaupati, Radha Gopinath Prabhu and Damodar Prabhu, both here from Chaupati, who will be speaking on Srila Prabhupada this Wednesday. So that program happens again at 22nd Avenue every Wednesday evening at 6:30. It's just an hour long, 6:30 to 7:30. At 7:30, prasadam is served over there. So please join if you can. Prasadam is served over here right now. So please, back in the temple room, take prasadam to your full satisfaction again. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna.